Okay guys, the time has finally come to build myself an outfeed table for my table saw. The trick with my outfeed table though is I also need to be able to fold it up so I can tuck my table saw away when I'm all done using it. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do it yet, but we're going to figure it out together. The one thing I do know is I'm going to use these. I got these brackets off of Amazon. There's a link in my description. So let's go figure this out together. But before we get started, don't forget to click like and subscribe. Let's go. For me, logically, the first thing I had to figure out was where I was actually going to mount this thing to my table saw. So I determined the best place to mount it would be here. These bolts with an L bracket and two holes, one here and one here. But first I need to modify this L bracket so it actually fits. Now I'm going to go ahead and drill the holes in the frame for the other attachment points. Now I got to figure out how big I can actually make my outfeed table. The ideal distance would be 48 inches from the back of the blade. That way I could properly support a 4x8 sheet of plywood. However, that's not going to be realistic, so I'm going to have to make it smaller than that, which means I'll just have to use my workbench like I have been to do things like that. There's a couple things I need to consider before I get started though. First off, I need clearance for this little lever to remove my fence. I need clearance to my dust port here. And I need to make sure that when the thing is done, it'll all still fold up. So let's take some measurements. This is about where the brackets are going to need to be. I really don't want my outfeed table to stick out past anything on the table saw when it's folded up. This part's the lowest part, so it can't stick out past that. So it looks like it can be about 24 inches long. But keep in mind, it's actually going to give me a bigger table than that because there's going to be a gap here. So the outfeed table is going to stick out about 28 inches past the table saw table, which should help a lot. Now that we got the dimensions figured out, let's cut a piece of 3/4 inch plywood that size. By the way, this terrible sheet of plywood cost me $77. Now I'm going to need to build some sort of a frame that will get the hinge out to here, past this lever, and still allow me to use this attachment hole. So let's figure that out. So I did a little bit of thinking off camera and I came up with something sort of like this. It's not the prettiest, but it'll definitely do the job. Maybe we can add a little bit of pretty along the way. Okay, I think we're finally in the home stretch. The frame is attached and it is quite sturdy. I'm very happy with that. The next step is going to be to attach the hinges to the frame. The critical part here is that the Outfeed table top needs to be slightly below the top of the table saw. Now we're ready to finally attach the table to the hinges. So let's go ahead and do that. Well, that turned out perfect. It looks like we're all set except for a few finishing details. I want to sand it down real nice, and then I want to put a little roundover edge just to make sure the board never catches. This is going to be a great addition to my workshop. Thanks for checking out my video. Please hit that like and subscribe button as well as dropping me a comment. And if you feel like it, check out one of these other videos too.